Mwasibire muta, mwasibye mutya, amahoro, agandi, Bible, habari gani, muraho, sangonini, kopango, odeo. For those of you who are wondering what that was, these are some of the various local greetings found in East Africa's diverse languages. Welcome to She Center, the female podcast, where I dive into the issues and experiences that affect women everywhere. I am your host, Resti Kansime, and I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to share their stories and triumphs. I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast, and I would love for you to join our community and stay connected with us beyond this episode. You can find us on Instagram at _She Center _podcast, and follow us on Facebook at the She Center Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that follow and like button on our social media to be part of the conversation. Hey, welcome back to yet another episode of She Center, the female podcast. I am very thrilled to have you here, and thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. I did take a break, and I'm recording this during my break. I just had an amazing conversation with an amazing lady called Phionah, who has shared an amazing journey and who is doing so much work. To be honest, every time I speak to someone, I feel like my heart is so heavy with so much more that needs to be done with regards to empowering women in Uganda. You know, there's someone going through a different season, and sometimes you just feel like, I wish I could just, swipe a wand or something like that and make the change. A quick reminder, if you are listening to this, could you please subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. If this is on audio, please subscribe, because this will do a really great job in helping me to spread the word. And like, comment, whatever it is that you need to do. Share the episode to any person. You really never know who might benefit from the content that I'm putting out there, because I do understand that there's so many people who need to be informed about the issues that women are facing, not only in Uganda, but in the whole world. This video might be able to impact someone all over the world, somewhere in America or something like that. So yes, I am looking at my computer because I need to tell you about this project. So the person that I'm speaking to is from a foundation called Rainbow Hearts Foundation. This is someone who you're going to listen to. Her journey is very painful. She's still going through a huge challenges right now as she's going through the process of IVF. Her name is Phionah. She is a founder and director of the Rainbow Hearts Foundation. She is someone who is doing amazing work to help women who are going through the process of IVF. Their mission is to educate, to make aware the issues that are happening in this specific field, to provide counseling, to provide therapy, and also medical interventions for people. And they're making an amazing impact. I got to know about Phionah through Denise from Vessel Is Me, and I'm very glad that I got that connection, because the work that she's doing is very impactful. I am truly blessed. Like, I feel like people are going through so much, guys. People are really going through so much. We need to be kind. We need to be empathetic. We need to understand. And I just wish that you guys could listen to this, share it, and like, subscribe. It will really go a long way in helping me to impact other women out there through these collaborations with other people. Thank you so much for your time. And please listen until the end, because Phionah's journey is going to really, really impact you. You might not be going through what she is going to share about, but it might be something that another person that you know is going through. So you might need this information. You never know who might benefit from you knowing this. Thank you so much, and have a lovely, lovely time. Bye for now. Love you all. Bye. Hi, Fiona. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm so happy that you made the time to do this. I guess both of us are having a little bit of a tough month,
It's been a
we
bit
might say. This is the first recording I'm making since I shared on my social media that I'm taking a break because I lost my stepdad. And I had actually said I'm not doing any recordings at all. But then, interestingly, I was like, there has to be some kind of purpose for this specific season that
yeah,
I'm in.
yeah,
Because I felt like whatever episode that comes out next, I'll be using it to share from what I've learned from the season that I'm in right now. And I was like, okay, I'm discovering purpose, and
yeah,
sometimes your vision is there, but then something disrupts it, and now you're
yeah,
like, you know what, I could take a break forever, or I
yeah,
can take a short break and continue with what I feel like God has put me in the. So this was a
yeah,
challenge to me because I kept postponing it every day. I was like, no, I'll reach out to her next month, I'll do it next month, but something said, you know what, you have to continue with what you were supposed to do despite how you're feeling. So I just explained to you a couple of minutes before we started recording ago that I am exploring the question of purpose because I feel like purpose is something that's quite important in this season that we are in post pandemic, because we went through this traumatic event like globally, and right now I feel like many people are kind of like living in that space where they're like, am I really here? Am I supposed to be here? What am I doing? I'm seeing a lot of people coming out also, I guess, because of all the tools that are available to us. There's no more excuses. Like, you
yeah,
have back in the day, we like you'd be very few people who have access to being on a channel, on a TV channel, a radio station. Right now we have podcasts, YouTube. Like, what's your excuse for doing to
yeah,
spreading the word of whatever it is that God has put on your heart?
yeah,
I looked at your YouTube channel and I was seeing that. I was like, okay, this is something that for me is very inspiring because I see myself also in that, because I also started out in the same way. I'm still like new to YouTubing. I just started like full video podcasting last September. And what inspires me the most is the fact that you are also sharing from your experience. Like, whatever it is that you've started is coming from who you are and what you've gone through in life. And I was happy that Denise connected the both of us, because I'm always looking to meet new people who are doing the same thing that I'm also trying to do. Like, we are on the same journey. We can
yeah.
also collaborate and try to be able to put the same word out there. So, yes, I want to ask, are you living in your purpose? And the first question I would ask is, do you feel that you're living in your purpose right now? And how has your journey shaped this sense of purpose for you?
And I think yes,
Oh, before I forget, you can start out by introducing
introducing
yourself and
myself,
what you
yes.
do and about your organization, so that I don't have to lie about anything.
Yeah, okay. So my name is
Yeah.
Phionah Nannozi Ngoga. I am a lead at an NGO called Rainbow Hearts Foundation, which we abbreviate as RHF. And basically, our goal is to provide support, create awareness about infertility, and to support those who are really walking this journey. And it started from personal experience. There are things that I went through that I realized many people are struggling with in silence. I struggled with, and I did not find any help at the time. So I looked out for where is the help. The medical assistance was there, but then there are several facets to this journey that people did not understand. Even the medical practitioners did not
Yeah.
understand in depth or even provide the kind of support. So I knew definitely that something had to be done. And there are some times when I think about it and I'm like, there are things that also, because it's such a personal journey, like it's not something that you walk around and start telling everyone, oh, I'm struggling with infertility. And also because of the society, and it has told us these are really deeply personal issues. Also,
Yes, yes.
fertility is considered like a bedroom matter, so you don't just talk about it. Yeah, so I realized that there's not much support, and we're not going to get the support unless someone becomes the sacrificial lamb.
True.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thank God that He gave me the grace he enables me to be able to share my story without any shame. And this is something that I find so common with people who are struggling or walking this journey, that they find it very shameful to even just talk about it, to even reach out to someone and seek support here. So I knew that something had to be done, and I had to be, myself and my family had to literally be put on the line for it, because it's not just my journey, but it's my family's journey. When I share about it here, it involves my children, it involves my husband, it involves my parents, my siblings, and everyone else who I know here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and I think you are right in saying that in many cases it takes courage.
Yeah.
It takes courage because oh my God, back home it's something that first of all, the pressure. We've had Denise on the podcast and she shared about it. Me and her made like 3 recordings. In the
Yeah.
first one she was like mad, and then the second one she was like okay. Then by the time we made the third one she was like okay, I'm just going to be official about it. But I got the raw
The raw
rawness
version of
from her
it, yeah.
conversation, like when I was talking to her, because sharing her, I read her book and I was telling her that while I was reading that book, I was like, you know, when your body is tense from feeling angry about everything that's happening, I felt like she was speaking to me like directly. It was so raw. And I have never seen it in that way. Like I had never imagined. I remember, I think after someone I know went through this, I started to take offense in people asking questions about like, have you, like, when are you getting pregnant? When are you
Exactly.
doing this?
Yeah.
And they're always looking at the girl. And these days, like, people are always like, why are you so mad? People
Yeah.
don't know. It's then that I realized that I also, for instance, one time I asked my cousin, she was pregnant, and she had, I think she lost the baby like really halfway. She lost the baby, and I reached out to her because I was like, I saw her and she still looked like she was,
Yeah.
going through like the loss of the weight. So I'm like, oh, how are the kids? And she was like, yes, the baby is fine. She didn't tell me, and then weeks later, my sister tells me, oh, she lost the baby. I was so hurt
Yeah.
because I asked her at a party, and
Yeah.
it's something that is very sensitive. And I
Yeah.
think I didn't mean for it to be hurtful for her or for her to put herself in that
Yeah.
situation. But I think after hearing someone like Denise share this information, and some other lady, my friend Sheila, who is part of the community, who shared that she lost her baby, like literally almost to time to giving birth in like 30 something weeks, that's when I started to realize how people need to be sensitized, because
Yeah.
in many cases you want to be mad at someone, but you have no, like, society has not even taught us how to be sensitive about such matters.
Yeah.
So it's always for me important when I learn from people like that, so that I am aware next time I'm supposed to say something, I'll be
Something,
like,
yeah.
okay, careful how
Yeah.
you can't just know, because it doesn't, no one has a name on their face saying I'm
I'm
struggling with this.
struggling, that's
You
true.
have to be sensitive with everyone. It doesn't matter if they look pregnant or not pregnant. You just have to be sensitive.
And I
Yeah.
think when
So
you say
how
that,
has yeah, so no, sorry, I'll skip my question for later.
yeah, so when you say that, I'm sure it's going to answer probably some of the questions that you would have asked or
Yeah,
you're going to ask. But let me
yeah.
just say it before I forget. So, because we do not have, I call it etiquette about some of these things, how to
Yes.
even have conversations,
Yeah.
So I remember the first time, and this time, as I mentioned, I have just gone through an IVF treatment, and it has been a nightmare of a journey. And if you see me right now, I actually look pregnant. My stomach, because you're now seeing half, and I have been like this for the past 2 weeks, bloated, throwing up, my skin is broken out, all the symptoms of a pregnancy. But I am going through an IVF treatment. And I remember the first time when I went through it, I bumped into someone I had been I had gone to the same school. I mean, it had been a while. So when I met this person, basically the person came and told me, oh, Kongs. At that time, it so happened that I was going through an IVF treatment still. And I don't even remember I don't remember what I told the person. And then I was not even thinking about my journey. I think I just walked away, but I took it so badly, because
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, this person does not even know that I am here literally like
Fighting.
fighting for just, for this thing to even just work, I don't even know what the outcome is going to be and all that stuff. Now I think I'm a bit more, I understand because I have that knowledge, and I also know that sometimes people do or act out of
Meanwhile,
ignorance.
yeah.
Yes, so they do not have the information, and that's why they might ask certain questions. Let me tell you, if you saw me maybe even yesterday or the day before, you would totally be sure that it's a pregnancy that is treating me this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is something, and even just the way I felt, in my, I was just like, how am I struggling? How am I going through this just for an egg collection? The body has totally acted out, and all the symptoms you have, you're so bloated, you can't eat, all these things, it's like you're pregnant, literally. But there's no guarantee that it's actually going to work, or that you're even going to get something out. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's really even tough to imagine. But I'm having hope for you. I'm having hope for you.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important, most especially it's like this sensitivity is something that you can't teach everyone, because in many cases you can say this person doesn't know, that's why they're acting the way they do.
Yeah.
But there are some people who actually will know what you're going through and they'll still treat you like they don't have empathy, they don't have anything. So I think as you say, like it starts out the first time, you take offense, then eventually you're like, you know what, I don't care. Denise was telling me how when people ask her, how are your children? She tells them, oh, so there's this one, I lost at this. Like, she's like, oh, she's fine, she's in heaven. And there's the one I did this. And she's like, then she said she loves to see how people get so uncomfortable when she's counting all her children in front of them, because it was not their business to ask first of all. But yeah, so sometimes I think it's the grace of God, like you said, like you really have to give grace to yourself and to other people, because it must really strain like every little patience that you have in you to say, you know what, I'm just going to walk by this person and I will have to be kind and be nice to them. I guess you can share with us later how you deal with this, but I wanted to ask, when you're reflecting on your past experiences, how have they contributed to the impact that you're making today through the RHS and RHF, sorry. And can you share a moment that was pivotal in leading you to your current path? Because I know there is someone saying, okay, I'm going through this, and that's why I started this organization.
Yeah.
But not every person who is experiencing something is a leader. Not every person is a creative to think I won't start an organization. So I'm guessing there has to be something about you that has led you to get the boldness to go ahead and say it. So maybe you can share a little bit about that and we can get to know you more.
I think, so as I mentioned, that fertility or infertility is not just a medical condition. Like it impacts one's quality of life. It's going to affect your mental state, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, like every aspect of your spiritual life. It's going to test even your faith, So for me, walking this journey, it was really challenging. It was really challenging, especially when I just got into it. I went through depression, but even at that time, I did not know what depression really looked like. These are terms that you hear about mental health, and still also because of the stigma that really is there about mental health, you also think about it and like, you know what, mental health is really someone who is walking around naked in the streets, someone who has
with a stone.
exactly,
yes.
But that is what we think or thought mental health was. So it's not really something that I had thought was really close to home. So even when I was experiencing, because I did not know, no one had educated me about it, that this is what you might be experiencing. And the hospital where I was going at the time, basically for them, their focus was, we are treating your fertility, we are treating your reproductive system, and that is what they're here to do. So you go and then they start you on the treatments, and they are pumping your body with hormones. We know naturally that even as any woman goes through PMS at a certain point in your cycle.
Yes.
Now imagine this PMS multiplied times like 100 times 1,000, because they are now pumping your body with hormones because of the treatment that you're going through. But also there's already mental stress or emotions that you have been going through because of the struggle. There's something, there are hopes that you had, there are dreams that you had of starting a family. No one ever dreamed of, I'm going to finish school, get a job, get married, then have some
And
struggles.
then I start.
You know, So we imagine that it's
Yeah.
going to be a smooth journey all the way. Yeah. So now you come and you're going to hit some bumps along the way, and especially bumps where society has told us that this is a woman's role
Yes,
to
exactly.
give birth.
Yeah.
Then you find that the thing that you thought your body should do naturally, it is not able to do. So you're already struggling mentally, asking yourself, how did I end up here? Why me? Then you go to the hospital, and even the diagnosis they might give you, they might not even explain to you. And I said this because I went through a cycle of doctors not explaining to me really what I was struggling with. It was just a random hormonal imbalance that was thrown around, but with no explanation of how severe it could get. Yeah. So so you're going through this thing, and all they're telling you is that maybe you're struggling with this, but with no clear explanation as to the depth and impact it can have on you, and maybe like your hopes of creating a family. So I had gone through a series of that. And by the time we actually decided to go to a fertility clinic, now there had started being a strain for me in my marriage. There's already now stress that is going on. So my husband was like, you know what, let's go and see a specialist and see if there's something that is actually wrong. But during this time, you're still in denial about the possibility of having that term infertile. So one, it was a struggle to even just accept that, you know what, let's go and see a specialist in this to get a proper diagnosis on what's going on. But even when we did, and then finally got that diagnosis, it was really like a hard pill to swallow, to then be thrown into that category of people who you felt like, there are some diseases you're like, this one it's not my portion. It's
True. Yeah,
it's
true.
not something that I am going to get close to. So then you find yourself in that, and even when the treatment starts, hormonal injections, hormonal tablets, hormonal this and that, but with no care that they are impacting your mental health.
Yes. Yeah.
When I went into isolation, I was depressed. I had a lot of anxiety, stress, and all these things. Also, because then you learn that even the treatments that you're doing, even with spending all that money, there is really no guarantee that you're going to get any result out of it.
Oh, that's scary. Yeah.
So going through that journey, and also because there would be like ladies who are on the same cycle with, and I was quiet a lot of the time, so I would just go, you're just there for your injections and leave, there for your injections and leave. And you're in line with the women, and they're telling their stories. There are women who tell their stories about this, let me say, like they've grown their businesses with their husbands, and now they are struggling to have children, and their in-laws are throwing them out of their houses, their homes, their businesses, Or the men are freely going, and because you cannot have a child, your husband freely comes and tells you, you know what, let me have someone
Try
else.
someone
Exactly. And I was like, how is this okay in our society that people are actually going through this emotional abuse,
Yeah.
and it is okay? Why? Because they are struggling to get pregnant. It was, for me, it was just so, I was just like, there is something that is wrong if no one can see that there is something that is wrong with this whole journey, and the things that people are going through. And I think for me, the pain was really from the family point of view, because then I started connecting the dots. I'm like, no wonder we have a lot of STDs and what, going around, because it is okay for the partner to go and try elsewhere if their
society
wife.
has made it okay. Yeah.
For me, that is when I was like, something needs to be done. This is a woman with a heart. This is, a man. Because even women were doing the same thing, and I'm not even just saying it's a men who are doing this. Because along this journey, I have also experienced women who have done the same thing, stepped out of their marriages because they have confirmed that the husband has a problem. And for me, it was not okay. It is not a normal thing. It is not a normal way of operating. And I was thinking to myself, as much as we're even looking for these children, what kind of families are we, what kind of societies are we bringing our children into? Finding or normalizing things like infidelity or emotional abuse in a marriage because there is some kind of struggle.
Yeah.
For me, I think that is where really my turning point was. And I was like, someone needs to talk about this thing. And it did not happen immediately because I also did not realize that I went through my own depression. It was really way after giving birth. Because one thing that I should say is that sometimes we feel like when I have the kids, everything is going to go back to normal. The marriage is going to be fixed, I'm going to be fixed, and life is going to go on.
True. Yeah.
What I realized is that even after I had the kids, my mental state did not change. The state of my marriage at the time did not change. And I knew that the children were not here to fix me or fix what was broken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
So that is when I realized that, okay, I'm actually going through something and I need to seek help. I need to deeply search and know what exactly am I going through, how has this journey affected me, and how has this journey been, and I think for me one thing that I believe was also a turning point in this that made me realize that I needed to do this, or that this is what God was asking me to do. I experienced heart failure just after giving birth. So it's something that was not caught during the pregnancy, and just after giving birth, my heart, I experienced something called postpartum cardiomyopathy, and I was literally on bed rest for a year. I did not breastfeed my kids that I have worked so hard for, prayed so hard for, and all these things. So I did not even have that time to, bond with them, carry them, but I believe that for me, that is when God was showing me that this is the journey that I have put you on, and this is exactly how I want you to get out of it. So during that 1 year of being on bed rest after giving birth is when I realized that I had been going through a depression. When I realized that the children that I have will not fix me. When I realized that there's a lot of work to do on me to be able to help someone else. And because of the experiences, the stories I've been hearing, I used to have a deep desire to help someone. And I remember telling my husband, I want to help someone else who is walking the same journey. I just did not know how. Because one, as I mentioned, this journey causes like a financial strain on you. And even just experiencing people, people would be there and they've sold land, they've sold assets, they've got loans from the bank to come and do a process that you do not know what the result is going to be.
Yeah, and that affects you already, your body, like it affects what it is that it goes against what you're trying to do because your body is now under stress.
Exactly. And I was like, I need to help someone, at that point I did not know how exactly it is that I needed to help. So I remember my husband asking me, so if you get money and pay for someone's treatment, then what? Okay, then I was like, okay, but because I had the time to still think about it, I was like, okay, let me think some more. How exactly do I need to help someone? And for me, as I said, my heart was really drawn to the family unit. It was really to help the husband and wife. Because it is a family, even without the children. The children come as a blessing, It is first you and your spouse. So if this family unit is broken, for me that is where the problem was, in the foundation of the family. Husband and wife you're not seeing eye to eye anymore. There's been a lot of disagreements, a lot of strain, a lot of emotional distress as you have been trying to now have that blessing. So that is where my focus went a lot. And then I realized that, okay, there's a lot of mental stress that the wife, but even the husband is going through. Him as the support unit, okay, as he's supporting you, who is supporting him? As he's trying to be there for you as you go through your emotions and who is there for this person?
Yeah, for him,
yeah. So those are all the things that started going through my mind. As like, then I realized, so I remember going to the hospitals and asking them, is there a counselor at this place? Is there someone I can talk to to help me understand my emotions, and they didn't have. They told me, no, we don't. Maybe we can recommend you to, to an external counselor. But I knew that if I wanted to see a marriage counselor, I would have looked for a marriage counselor out there. I truly wanted to speak to a counselor who understood the journey of fertility.
Going through, yes.
Because it is totally different, and that's why we even have like counselors specialized in, I don't know, children, a counselor special.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you need to have, exactly. You need to know.
They kind of there's some kind of understanding with what you're dealing with, and I knew that just any counselor was not going to help me. So I actually did not see any, because I knew that what they were going to deal with was for me was very surface level. They were not going to go to the depth of what it is that was causing my actual emotional and mental issues. I was like, okay, now there's a gap here. Something has to be done. Someone has to talk about it. The hospitals need to know that as they give the medical help, it is not holistic. You're not helping the patients. They need much more than just the injections that you're giving them. They need to, as they even come to, get into this journey, there's a lot more that needs to be dealt with as they walk this journey, to prepare them for what to expect. You see people and
talk of blessings.
No, because I'm saying, so you see people and they have prayed so hard, they have worked, they have saved, and they have tried to come to get that medical help.
Treatment,
But at the end of it, there is no satisfaction in this thing. Because
very true.
There is still a gap that has not been dealt with. So for me, I think my sickness, my heart issues, and having 1 year of bed rest was for me when God really downloaded and told me, this is the journey that I have put you on, and this is how I want you to help. So one, I needed to create awareness. Let people understand what is infertility. Even to us who are struggling, I realized that we did not understand it. No.
Yes.
Someone is going through something. Now, as I mentioned, I didn't know that I was going through depression. But you're going through things, but you don't even know what you're going through. So how is someone else going to help you if even
you don't even know how to put it into words?
Exactly. So I knew that awareness needed to be created to both the society, but also those who are struggling. Two, we needed to support people with mental health. We needed to start advocating to the hospitals. We needed to start advocating for policy change so that mental health is included in fertility treatments. Then helping people with medical interventions. Because I also realized, as much as we are here with, people have the issues, okay, this is my problem. We are still seeing general doctors. I'm like, how is a general doctor going to sort out your fertility issues? And this is it, because of the more you meet people, you realize that it's not even just like someone in the village who did not go to school who has no information about a fertility specialist.
Even the doctors.
Exactly. There's a couple that I met along the journey, and this lady had been to a particular fertility hospital because it is the only one that she knew. These guys had messed up, they had messed up a lot on her journey. She had wasted over 15 years in treatments, in treating fibroids, doing ABCD, to a point where they were now telling her that her eggs were not viable anymore to be used. 15 years. When she started, her eggs were okay. They were still viable. They could have used them. Now, 15 years later, they're telling her they can't use them. And I'm like, what have you been doing for this woman? So when I even asked her, have you visited any other clinic? She said, no, this is the only one that I know. I was like, what? So there's a lot of information that I knew we needed to put out there. That people did not have. People in town, people in the central region of the country did not know that there are specialists who deal with fertility, And there are places ABCD, recommended fertility clinics. So really that is how for me, I think.
It's so heavy. I relate in another angle. I relate to what you're saying with regards to just going through something and it giving you perspective. Yeah, it's something that you can even start to think like, could it have been different? And for you to think, okay, I don't want any other person to go through this. Because imagine you're a person who is out there. Like, I have a friend who I think she has been going through the treatment of fibroids for that's couple of years. And she's not married, and the doctor keeps telling her, you need to get pregnant, you need to get pregnant. Like, you need to.
Yeah.
This girl has been depressed. Like, she has been depressed. She's going through a lot. And she like, our society, how it is, like, get pregnant. What does that even mean? Like, they're not even giving her option. You can put your eggs on the side. You can do this. Like, for him, he's like telling her something that is getting her into more depression. Exactly. Like, hey, let me just go and get pregnant. So when I started to hear what she was talking about, I had no clue. Like, I don't even have a clue that, fibroids lead to this and this and this and this. In my mind, I'm just telling her, this person you're dating, what's their story? Like, are they people who know what you're going through? Are they, because, it starts to make you put strain on a relationship that should be taking its normal course. Because we were like planning, we're like, okay, tell the guy, like, what your situation is, so he knows, not just because you want to get pregnant, so he knows, like, you're not out there to waste time with him as dating and stuff. And eventually, I think she got to a point where, I don't know, I kept telling her, you know what, send me your pictures. Let me get for your second opinion here in Germany. And I was taking her pictures, showing them to my cousin, who is also an anesthesiologist. And she's like, Resty, I think this is what I think. But I was like, maybe, like, it's just that stress. And to me, honestly, I believe, like you said, information is key, because you might find your person right now who is going through fibroids, and the doctor is telling you, things are not going to happen.
Yeah.
And you listen to someone like you who went through the fibroids part and is on the other end, and you can be able to tell her, if you do this, you might avoid coming to where I am.
Yeah.
Because in many cases, keeping it a secret is not fair, to be honest, because you're quiet and there's someone out there who might benefit from your information. And that's something that I find very inspiring, because I might, like, right now as we are speaking, I might just know someone who will go through it in the future. And I'm like, oh, there's this person out there who went through this. And I think that's why it's very important for us to make use of social media and all these things, because people just go onto social media and they're, Googling, YouTube, what do I wear? What do I eat? And stuff like this. But if you are a person who is leading this organization and you're not putting your content out there in a way that it's going to be recommended to people who are, the algorithm is catching what you're Googling online, what you're checking on ChatGPT. And then that person gets to know that information, and you have saved the rest of their life because of what you did. So it's very, very important, I think, as you said, for us to see what we are going through and be able to share it so that other people can be able to benefit from it. So I wanted to ask, let me see. Yeah, what other obstacles with regards to the organization? Okay, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about when you decided to say, okay, I'm going to start the organization. What are some of the things that maybe collaborations have been helpful to you? What challenges did you face? What are some of the things that have worked that you've seen for any person maybe out there who is going through something a little bit different, but is thinking, okay, I want to do what Phionah is doing. How do I start? Like, how was that journey for you when you made the decision and said, okay, I am the research, I am the case study. This is what I feel someone like me needs. How did the journey start after that?
So I can say yes, there's been challenges, and I think in the context of let me say, like, the society that I'm in, the challenge is very clear. So when it even comes to support from the public sector, which is, let me say, like, the government, there is a clear mandate for them to control population, the population, and the focus has been put on. But you see, for me, the argument is we have then ignored that a certain number of people who are actually struggling to even have just one. And because we know that, and I think for me, it also comes from the fact that infertility, there are several causes of infertility. Some preventable, some not, some are just, I mean, you're just born with them, you get it? And I think if it's not even to say that, oh, we are going to, let me say, like, support and inject money in this kind of thing and what, but it's to look at this thing, understand what it is, how does it impact. For me, the main thing is, it is not just a disease of the reproductive system. It impacts someone in ways more than one, and it impacts the society at large.
And the country at large.
It impacts the person's one. As I mentioned, it impacts the person's, whether it's social life. Now, I'm going to talk about even just this recent experience that I've gone through. Luckily, I did not have to go to like a workplace I didn't have a boss to call. Now, my past experience was different because I was fully employed somewhere, and having to explain to my boss that every day at a certain time I have to go to the hospital for injections because they're given at a particular time for 14 days. So you're leaving your workplace at a certain time every day to go to the hospital to get those injections. Those injections are going to have side effects on you. I had serious side effects, and I was lucky that I have the privilege to I have the comfort to stay at home if I'm not feeling well. Then I did not have. There are many people out there who are walking this journey and they do not have that kind of what? Chance or choice to say that today I am out of it, I'm going to stay at home and rest. Even after, so I have gone through this 14-day egg stimulation, and then they did the egg collection. Now, because of the condition that I have is called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Many times or sometimes after the egg collection, the person experiences something called ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, which can come from, which is either mild, moderate, or severe. And unfortunately, this time I experienced the severe bit of it. You can imagine the severe sickness started after the egg collection, when now someone thinks that, okay, the journey is over. I was literally sick. 2 days ago, I had to go to tap fluid out of my stomach because I could not sleep at night. I was not able to eat. I was throwing up. Basically, even the medication that I was supposed to take to help, I could not.
Just cause, yeah.
So the doctors realized that it wasn't helping. They had to, because the thing, it dehydrates you and you're literally. So I think about it and I'm like, so there's someone else out there. There's someone out there who is not able to even explain to someone what they're going through.
Yeah.
You have a workplace to go to, you have a boss to report to, who does not know what you're experiencing, and you're going through a severe life-challenging situation, But no one else. I mean, we have not given attention to this condition because we are, as a country, we are focusing on population control, So for me, the thing is, there is people who are struggling to have their kids. How do we support these people? The best way that we can. And the challenge for me has been for the society to even understand, because of the stigma. There's still a lot of stigma in Uganda about infertility. Even just the topic. Bring it up and you're like, this is the NGO and this is what we do. Sometimes we're like, they want to understand how is that a problem,
Yeah.
But because they have not understood that this thing is much more than someone's challenge of giving birth.
True. Yeah.
It affects the person in several other ways. If this person is not working, the economy is not,
Exactly. Yeah. Even the boss himself, if she's happy, then you're going to benefit from her mental
So
state.
there's a lot that's going on. It's going to affect your work, you at your workplace. It's going to affect your performance.
Productivity.
It's going to affect, now it's affecting the organization at large, not just you. It's affecting your relationships, from
Yes.
your partner to your siblings to your friends to, you just do not want. There are times when I was here, actually, as I mentioned, my phone has been on silent the whole time because I just did not want to receive phone calls from anyone. People would call, but I did not have the phone. Actually, the kids had the phone.
Yeah.
But because I just did not want to interact with anyone, because this is what the journey does to you, it puts you in isolation. But these are all things that have not been considered. So in trying to understand the holisticness of this journey, I feel like that is where we shall even start getting the support that we need. If someone understands that, okay, this is actually the extent to which someone struggles, not just, oh, I'm struggling to have children, but there are several other ways that the person is struggling, then people maybe will start being a bit more open to and a bit more empathetic and compassionate about something like this. So going back to the challenges, stigma is a very big part of it. The stigma that's attached to infertility is still very heavy. As much as we are trying to talk about it, trying to normalize conversations about infertility, the stigma is still heavy. But the stigma, and I tell people that it is not just stigma from the outside, but stigma from ourselves
inside,
as well, from the
true,
inside. Yes. We stigmatize ourselves a lot. Why? Because we feel like, oh, I am, you start questioning yourself, am I woman enough? I'm not able to do this thing. Am I woman? You start looking at yourself in another, just in a negative way, you get it? Instead of actually looking at yourself as the person that you are, even without the what? Whether it's a children yet or that.
To see that you have, there's so much, you're enough as a person.
Exactly.
Yes,
You're much more than
you're
the
much
struggles
more.
that you're going through. So there's a lot of self-stigma that we go through. So for me, I think stigma has really been the biggest journey, because even when we talk about support, it's very hard to support. It's very hard to support someone who is not willing to be supported. So when we try to, let me say, like, have awareness campaigns or have we have a support group where we have these ladies who come and just share their journeys and see how to support each other as they are walking this journey. But there are people who just come on that group and they do not want to say anything, but which is okay, because that's how, we are all different parts of this journey and different stages also of whether it's grieving or acceptance, and so we give them time, and eventually they maybe start opening up, and we find that the person actually gets better when they open up or when they start accepting that.
When they start talking about it as well.
This is the situation that I'm in. How do we then move forward? So there's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of. I think for me it's also from when it comes to even like the work that we do, because there's nothing that can be done without money, and that's what I keep telling people. As much as you want to help and support and all these things need finances.
They need money.
Exactly. So getting these partnerships too. And for me, when I even look at, let me say, like corporate companies, because those are the places that we are trying to get into, also to make them understand that this is what your workers are going through, in silence. How do we create an inclusive environment where they can feel free to come to you and let you know that this is my struggle in this season, and how do you actually get to support them as they walk this journey? So these are people that we're trying to get on as partners. But you see, it's still a bit challenging because they're still trying to understand this thing.
How does it help us? How does it help us make money or to better work? Exactly. Where do we benefit from?
As partnering with you, how do we benefit from this thing? So yes, we still have a lot of work to do. For me, I think from really the awareness bit. From the awareness bit, that's where it all starts.
That's true.
Awareness, information. When people get the information that they need, then they'll be able to make informed decisions on even how to support such causes.
Have you gotten some companies that have been very receptive to the work that you're trying to do?
Yes. So last year we actually had a symposium. It was the first. It was really the first of its kind in, I should say, in East Africa, maybe even Africa. It was really to bring together different stakeholders, and this was from a high level So we do awareness campaigns which are really from the grassroots. And last year we introduced something which was from the top, because we also, as we are doing the awareness from the grassroots, we also want the policymakers, people who drive the change, to
Yeah.
understand, to come together, just listen to, whether it's lived experiences or listen to the doctors. These guys also have challenges at the hospital, When you come to the hospital and they give you a bill of like 20 million shillings, there's a reason why. Sometimes sometimes you go into a strike, you're like, oh, they're so expensive.
Sure.
When you sit down, because of now the relationships that I've created, I sit down and I listen to the doctors. Okay, I want to understand, why is it that IVF treatment costs me this much? And then they explain to you that the taxes that a government puts on
Oh,
us
actually, I
because
hadn't thought
of this
about it in
are
that way.
very heavy.
Yes, yeah,
So you have
yeah.
to, for us, it's a
It
business.
makes it affects, yeah,
Exactly, for them,
yeah,
it's a business.
yeah.
As much as they're here to help, it is a business. It has to make business sense to
Yes.
them. So the end user, who is the patient, is the one who
He's the one who
actually suffers.
struggles in the end. Yes, yeah.
So these are all things that I try to understand. The challenge also so the challenges with, let me say, like patient doctors. So because the patient comes in with high expectations and the person's emotions are all over the place, and there are patients who have called me and they are having it with their doctors, and
Yeah,
the person
they
is like,
blame them, yeah.
yeah, I went to the doctor and maybe they did this, or they told me this, and how insensitive. But because I now know that, one, we are emotional as we get into this journey,
Yeah.
but also these doctors are human. This doctor has seen, probably by the time they get to you, they've seen like 20, 30 patients before you.
Yeah. They have compassion fatigue.
Exactly. They have family things, not that,
Yeah, they also have things going on in their
exactly.
lives.
So maybe at
Yeah.
that time, that day, you probably got them on a bad day, or, sometimes even the explanation they'll give you is really coming from somewhere. You get it? So
Yeah,
sometimes I
true.
try to be the linkage, try to make the patient maybe understand what the doctor meant, or he said this because of this, trying to calm them down, that no, the doctor is not the, sometimes the doctor becomes the problem because the doctor said this and they are not understanding me, and then we get so offended by the nurses, and these are some of the things that we are trying to also just try to deal
Work.
with, feedback that we give to the hospitals, that,
Yeah.
this is how the nurses, this is the feedback that we have from the patients about how they're being treated by the nurses. This is one thing that I tell people, is that infertility, or people us who struggle with infertility, we tend to be very emotional sometimes.
Very, yeah.
So sometimes also, you go and maybe the nurse, and I tell people they're tired, but also there's a lot of ethical behavior or things that they also need to learn as they're dealing with fertility patients. So this is also feedback that we try to give to the hospitals, that this is
Yeah.
maybe, these are some of the changes that we can make in maybe like the nurse-patient relationships, to have a better experience for everyone, really.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
I feel like I've gone off.
No, I had actually never really thought about the government's role in this, because at the end of the day, I think what you shared is very important. First of all, when you're going through something, it's about you. Like, the whole world is just, they're just around you, and in your mind you're thinking, you guys, everywhere I'm walking, the get man,
Everyone
the
is
person
against
selling me
me.
food, everyone should cater to my problem.
That's true.
But at the same time, no one knows what you're going through. So how are they, even them, they have their own stuff that they're going through. Yeah. So I think it's important when you have a community, for someone to give you perspective, to be like, no, it's actually not about you. Because, you might be walking around and someone is looking at you, and they maybe just looking at you, and you're like, is it because my stomach looks like this? Is
Exactly.
it because this and this? So I think it's important to always have that. And that's one thing that the platform that I'm trying to build is going to also, like, it has that aspect. I figured, like, whatever it is that you're going through as a person, you need to have a community of people who have gone through the same thing, or who are going through the same thing, to ground you and tell you, like, There's worse situations
Yeah.
out there, like you might be there when you've just started the journey, and there's someone who has been in it for 20 years, and you're thinking your whole world is like around you.
Yeah.
So it's important, I think, if you find that community where you find also yourself, like how to limit your expectations, how to know. I don't know if this, in my mind, I was just thinking, imagine you're in the waiting room and all these thoughts are going through your head. I don't know if you know Pumla, because she said for her, she went to tie tubes and she sat there and had people talking and talking about infertility. And she was like, she ended up living with forms of donating eggs.
Wow.
And she ended up donating her eggs 2 times, and she went through this exact treatment that you're going through. She
Yeah.
shared, she was like, she started to have pity on people who go through this, and
Yeah.
compassion towards them rather.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've also considered this, something that's going into my mind. Have you also considered that waiting room? Like, do you partner up with these fertility centers to make, say, brochures or, I don't know, posters on the wall? I remember at university we had this office where there was your delay is not my the secretary had something like, your delay is not my emergency, or something like that. So when
Mm-hmm.
you walk in, you're like, I didn't
In a
register for my
hurry
exam,
and
and
yeah.
you're just looking at their paper and you're like, this woman has clearly communicated. So I don't know if this is something that you guys have considered to, to have this information when you walk into a gynecologist's office for checkup. Do you have that information there for people to, I'm just looking around, you're like, what's this paper around here? And for me to walk into a fertility center to find the information and a QR code that is saying, in case things get hard, is it something that you're also doing, or maybe are these some of the plans that you're planning to do?
Yeah, it's in the plans. So as we try to solidify the relationships that we have, right now we have 2 fertility centers on board that we work with. Yeah, so these
Yeah.
are some of the things that we're trying to incorporate to see how do we also support some of the people that they
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, exactly.
Those who might need like a community to belong to, even if it's just for that season when they are going through their treatments, to just understand.
Yeah, yeah.
What I realized is that everyone needs some kind of support,
Yes.
so this
Yeah.
time when I was there, so there's a lady that we happened to bump into each other 3 times during that cycle of the treatment.
Yeah.
And somehow on the last day when we were doing the egg collection, I got her number. So it's weird that, so I then told her about myself, I told her, because we then started chatting and she was asking me, oh, is this your first time here? So I told her, no, it's not my first time, but this is what I do, I've actually been, I've seen she has been texting me and just telling me how hard this journey has been on her. She's asking me like what to expect going forward, like when she gets to that point of the embryo transfer, is it going to be still as bad? She's already wanting to back out of the journey because she's actually very scared. She's like, if this is how the rest of the thing is, I think I'm like, she's at the point of, do I back out now? Do I continue with it? So such things. And there are several people now. Imagine we had not met.
Exactly.
And I had
Yeah.
probably not even told her about myself and told her, this is what I do, and started sharing with her. So she was going to be in that, fix of,
Yeah, she could have given
exactly,
up.
she does not
Exactly. Yeah.
know, does it get better, does it get worse, how is, what to expect and what not to expect. And I was telling her, no, that I think the worst is now behind us, so the rest of the journey should be fairly smoother than what has happened to the body right now. And to just stick in there, continue, because the goal, we know what the goal is, and stick it out.
That's true. When you're saying that, I can imagine how much you've impacted her life. And I hope that these different specialists, or even not just specialists, because I know when you're a gynecologist, if you haven't specialized, I never even used to know until like recently, that the doctor who is specializing in fertility treatment is different from just a normal gynecologist. And you might find they're not even like, consulting each other to find out if, because you can generalize. Me, one time I think I was like 22 years old or something, and I got to this doctor who told me I had pelvic inflammatory infection. And I'm like, what is that? So I go on Google and it was saying this can affect your giving birth. I almost went into a depression. So luckily my mom, because she's living here in Germany, I took a picture of all my scans and I sent them to her. And her doctor said, there's nothing wrong with this girl. What are they talking about? It turns out it was something completely different, but this doctor just needed to diagnose me because I was telling him I have pain.
Yeah.
And it turns out that this pain was from getting gastric acid. That's why I was having stomach pain.
Can you
And for
imagine?
him, he needed to diagnose it so
Yeah.
bad that he ended up finding some little
Something,
infection that he
yes.
gave me this big news, which a little girl,
Wow.
imagine they're telling you might not have kids. So
Yeah.
I can imagine going into a gynecologist's office and I'm just seated in the office and there are procurers there
Yeah.
for someone to say, okay, I don't know much about this. Like my child, every time I go to the pediatrician to take my daughter, the doctor gives us procures from different things, from the government, from like fever apps or something like this. I think this collaboration is something that, to know that this is something that's very important, because now, like you've said, you are helping this woman, but then there's also the collaboration with Denise. There are some others who go through that. They get the babies and then they cross over to, okay, I'm now pregnant. And then they lose their child. And at that moment, you might find, as a person who held their hand in the first process, you can't help them in the next
Yeah.
season of their life. But then at the end, now that person is just,
Yeah.
left alone, just because a person who is like, these collaborations are not happening. You get, and then you cross that bridge, then you become a mom. Now there's no one to help you in the journey of becoming a man, because remember, like you said, your brain, your whole family has been impacted
Yeah.
from the process. And now you are a mom. Now you're dealing with postpartum depression and you're like, does this ever end? Does this ever end?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you are doing this work, and I'm glad that at least I've got to know that, because until now I knew Denise is doing all this stuff. I thought like her stuff is like, hi. I thought that this information is something that, okay, I'll always send whoever I find that is going through this to Denise. But I'm glad that now I have a new, hi boys, are they twins?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Okay, bye-bye.
hi. So cute. Yes, so I'm glad, and I think the vision is the same for me, to have one-stop center, and my goal is to not act like I know
Yeah.
what is happening with women's, like, to use the fact that I also went through a certain season of my life where I didn't have the information that I needed, and I can't go on Google and Google it, because some of these organizations don't even have NGOs, or they are not easily searchable,
Yeah.
and yet they exist. So to find someone who, to find one stop place where you can go and say, okay, I'm going through the season of my life, and then after that, this is where I can go. That is my goal, and I'm glad that I have gotten to know you, and I'll have your contact to
Yeah.
know that in the future, when the platform has been set up, I can be able to set it up in a way that it's like a referral system, a referral chain, where you're like, okay, are you going through this? Are you going through this? Until your child has probably reached 20 years, you have that support that you need. Yeah. So thank you so much. Okay, one last question I had. I wanted to ask that, as you're looking ahead, how do you see your purpose and contributions growing? And what role do you think a platform like She Center can play in supporting women through this process of discovering and evolving their purpose?
So definitely I see growth, and I think for me it really is about impact. And when I went into this thing, okay, I think something that I also didn't mention is that for me, my pain, or I have turned my pain into purpose, because I keep
Yeah.
telling people that the more I share about what I do, and the more I share about my story, the more I share about the journey that I've walked, it is a
Yeah.
healing process for me. But more than that, it has given me purpose.
Yeah.
And initially, I was like, you know what, I just need to help one person. If one person's life is impacted and something like that, then I'm okay with it.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
more I, let me say, like, put out a story and then get feedback from someone, get feedback from a couple, this journey, and they've just been inspired or just restored their hope, it's something that I look forward. And I think for me, where I will find fulfillment or find that, okay, now the impact is really being driven home, is where we have a society that is inclusive, you know, because we still have a lot of non-inclusivity when it comes to this. And I say this because even something as simple as insurance, I mean, this is an expensive condition, disease to have, you know, but there is not a single even tablet of fertility that insurance is going to pay for, you know. So for me, the thing is, why going through fertility? It is not a disease that was chosen. It is not, you know, something that someone brought onto themselves. So why can't we have that kind of inclusivity in the different services that are offered to the public? Yeah, so actually for us, that is also, those are some of the policy advocates that we are doing, to have some kind of change when it comes to whether it's there's a bill that is currently being passed in the Ugandan Parliament, you know, and it's about the reproductive. Basically, it's about the technology, assisted reproductive technology. It's the assisted reproductive technology bill. But in there, so, and it's coming from a good place. The politicians are coming from a good place, trying to protect the patient. But you see, they're protecting the patient with lack of information. They've not involved the person who is actually struggling, the lived experience. They're talking to lawyers, they're talking to doctors. These are the people who are helping them form this policy. So this policy is not going to help the person you're trying to protect at all. It's actually going to be against the person, because the people who are involved in it have no knowledge whatsoever about the bill that they are passing, about the impact it's going to have on the person that they are trying to protect. And I had the privilege of being invited last year to the parliament to, when they were making some amendments to the bill. And I was just listening to these politicians, and the things
about things they don't know,
and the questions that they were asking. So there's something actually that I have not shared. Something like, so we have the, when it comes to reproductive health. So yes, we have the assisted reproduction, but we get into the third-party reproduction. Third-party reproduction is where there's need for a surrogate, or where there's need for donor, whether it's donor eggs or donor sperm.
Donor eggs,
These are things that are taken very lightly. And they're taken very lightly because we do not know what they actually mean to the people who need to use third-party reproduction. And this I say because I am in that place. And for me, you know, God has put me on this journey because I know that it's really for purpose, like
for His glory,
like there's a reason why He has, I think, allowed me to just experience all angles of it. So because of that, I mentioned the heart failure that I went through. So going back into this, I knew, I mean, it's been 6 years ever since the last pregnancy, and I was like, okay, now the heart is healed. You know, I had so much hope, and getting back into it, I went back to my cardiologist and I asked her, so I want to try again, is it okay? And she told me, no, you cannot carry another pregnancy because it might kill you. So the option that I have is to use a surrogate. So I have gone through the IVF, yes, they have collected the eggs, but I am actually going to now use a surrogate. And this is something that I took lightly as well because I had no experience of it. And I can say that I think for me the reason, even these past 2 weeks and the treatments have really been heavy on me this time, is because of the mental torture that I was going through. You know, when they told me that, I literally broke down. And for me it was a lot from a point of, I feel like something is being robbed, you know, from me. I'm being denied a chance to
bring your child.
Told us, you know. So when I hear someone talking about surrogates, and how people are using surrogates because they do not want to
get their stomachs, whatever.
In my head, I'm like, I wish you knew.
So little information.
Because I am here and I have that desire and I wish I could be able to carry my pregnancy, but I can't. And you know, you go through all these things, you're like, there's a lot of emotional torture. So for me, when it comes to that, there's just so much that there's so much work that we need to do. So much work that we need to do.
So much, yeah. And you get there. To change a society, you have to build a house, you go brick by brick by brick. You might not be the one to benefit from it, but so many. Is surrogacy legal in Uganda? Because I know here in Germany it's not legal.
It is legal in Uganda, however, there is so much restriction to it. And even in the bill that they're trying to pass, it is, I think, one of the things that they were trying to restrict, like, I think to make illegal, basically. But
Yes,
it is more than even just, because there are other health conditions that will need someone to use a surrogate. You can imagine right now, I'm not going to use a surrogate because of my fertility.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It is just so much. It's just so much that.
Yeah, and someone comes and blabbers out things that they don't understand. Yeah, in Germany, I have a friend who wanted to do surrogacy, but they told them, sorry, here it's you carry your own child. No, those things of they don't allow. There's so many things that they don't allow. How do you think that organizations or a platform like She Center can be able to help in this journey of purpose for the experience that you have gained from this?
I think really spreading the message is, as I mentioned, the information is really necessary. Without information, then there's nothing that we're able to do. But if a platform like She Center is able to spread the message, give the information, create the awareness that is needed, then I think we'll be able to even have more collaborations, because as you mentioned at the start, there could be someone else who is, going through the same thing, walk the same journey, and they feel like, what, this is something that I really need to do to create awareness, to do something like this, create impact in this space, but they probably do not even know how to link up or partner with someone else who is doing the same thing, So I think a platform like She Center is very, very necessary in just linking and putting the information out there to see that there's more impact, really, that is created in different spaces.
Yeah, true. And that's my hope and goal. Thank you so much for making the time, Phionah. And I look forward to seeing many more changes that you're going to make to our society, because I personally, every person I speak to, I realized how little information I had about the situation. And I guess it also allows me to gain empathy to every woman that I meet, because these days, it's normal. Normally, when you hear surrogacy, it's probably you're thinking the person is old,
Yeah.
You're thinking the person is they don't want to have children. I remember when I told a friend of mine I had a child, she was like, "We've not seen any pictures of you pregnant. Was it a surrogate? Send me a picture of you pregnant, because we don't believe it." And it's people are hiding, like even the surrogacy, like for you to come out and share about it, people hide, like they don't want anyone to know about stuff like this. And it should be okay, to be honest. Like it should be okay. Like when you're empowered to know that there's nothing wrong. And I think what's the most important of it all, to know that despite what happens in your journey, you are still worth being a woman. Like your body might fail you, but you're still a woman. You can contribute through, so many things. Because I know even like people are like very quick to say, just adopt, but they're not opting for this thing. Like you don't know that, okay, I've failed to have kids, I've just tried the natural process, I don't have the money. Someone is not telling you, maybe you can try surrogacy. Like I didn't even know it was legal. I just knew that it's something that people will probably be doing in a different way, and what the whole politics around it is. So thank you so much for fighting for the rights of women, because this government is benefiting from our children, and yet they do not even want to support us to get to that journey. So thank you for educating them, and hopefully hopefully they get to create. I saw there's a lady from the UK who they brought in to work. I don't know what her name is. She's working with something about maternal health, maternal mental health, something. She's doing research. She came in from the UK. She's Ugandan, but she moved back, and she's working with the Ministry of Health
to advise them, I guess, with something about maternity, mental health, and stuff like that. I don't know if you've heard about her. Maybe I can send you a link, because it turns out that maybe the government is thinking they're trying to do some work, but they're not putting these people together for them to be able to know. Like, she's new from the UK. What will she know apart from finding someone who has all the data and the information? So thank you once again, and I wish you all the best. Hopefully very soon I will hear that you had your baby and everything
I
was
hope so.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be praying for you. Please help me spread the word by sharing our episodes with your friends, family, and followers. Let's amplify the voices of women, break barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create a network of support and empowerment. Together, we can bring about positive change and make this world a better place for all. This is She Center, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I love you all. God bless.